Hi, it's James Harrison here to talk about the next daily drumming influences. Today it is another drummer from that western Kentucky area. I believe he's either from Missouri or possibly Arkansas. I can't draw a blank on that right now, but I think it's Missouri. It's Preston Stanfill. Now, I met Preston when I was a freshman at Murray State in 1979, the fall of 79, in the marching band. And I was a music major. I don't think Preston was a major, but anyway, he was in the snare line, and is it Caruthersville, Arkansas, or some little town in Missouri? But anyway, he was in the snare line, and at that time, my first year there was only 5 in the snare line, if I'm not mistaken. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was myself, Dan Lobby, Dana Scaglione, Preston, possibly James Manning. If that was the case, 3 of us were freshmen. But I was on a 4-year scholarship and everything. Anyway, needless to say, Preston was in that drum line. The next year, I was going to be section leader of the drum line. And during the after marching season, I can't remember if it was before Christmas break or it was right when we got back for the second semester. And I don't know the whole details behind it, but Preston, through some anger over something, lived in the dormitories and was going toward the hallway, and they had these doors. I think it was Hart Hall. These doors that would open up, and they had little windows in them that had wires through the windows. And one of the doors was open, as far as I know, but Preston, upset about something, punched the window of the door, and the door was actually locked, and his hand went through the window, and if I'm not mistaken, he jerked it out, and the wires caught the tendons and stuff in his arm and ripped them out. And he was life-flighted to, I believe, to Louisville, to try to save his hand and his arm. And I remember seeing him, I don't remember how long after that, but quite a while. He came back, and he was pretty, he was happy to see people and everything, but he was pretty devastated. And if I'm not mistaken, his hand was fixed in such a way that there was a pin of something here with bands coming out of each finger, attaching to this pin to keep his hand in a certain position. And I can't remember if it was a left hand or his right hand. But needless to say, it was a tragic accident because he was a great guy, really funny, and definitely had that country twang in his talk and everything like that. Anyway, now fast forward to the next season, next August, when band camp comes around, and I didn't know Preston had been working that much. Now, this is before the internet, before cell phone, before anything like that. And we were going to have auditions for the snare line. And I don't remember if Preston auditioned or not. And Dave Wells came to me and said, put Preston in the snare line. And I said, I didn't know Preston was coming back. I didn't know if Preston could even play. So we put Preston in the snare line, and he struggled, but he worked really, really hard to try to keep up. He didn't want to be a burden on the line or anything like that. And so one of the reasons that he's an inspiration is to go what he went through, knowing the possibility that he may never play again, but to build it back up to where he could play. And so I realized at that point, and Dave Wells was a big part of this, in trying to say some things are bigger they're bigger than just trying to get the best players in the snare line. He needs to be in the snare line for more so than just because he was before, but also because he needs to work and to not have more hurdles. So, I'm not saying he couldn't have made it anyway. What I'm saying is that Dave Wells said that. So we put Preston in the snare line, and he busted his ass and worked his ass off to become a part of it. Now, I decided not to march the next year because I was getting I was playing in bands that were playing on weekends that were a conflict with the marching band, and it didn't affect my scholarship because we didn't get scholarship money from the marching band then, we got it from the music department. But I had gigs on the weekends, so I didn't march, but I did help write some of the things for the drum line. I think Preston continued marching for at least another year, maybe two. But then Preston, I'm not sure if he graduated. I think he went into journalism or radio and television. I'm not sure if he graduated or left school because he started doing gigging as well. And then he ended up playing with some people, and when he was doing the circuit, as we say, back then the circuits could have been Holiday Inns, Sheratons, bars, clubs, outdoor gigs, you name it. And I think he was playing primarily country rock at the time. And through some connections, he worked his way into moving to Nashville. And Preston established himself fairly well in Nashville. And Preston was one of those guys who laid down a solid groove, and he didn't try to overplay. He didn't try to throw chops where they weren't needed or wanted. He didn't try to, plug a square peg into a round hole, so to speak. And he became quite respected in Nashville. And I visited him once, and he lived in a duplex, and his roommates were or had been one of the guys from Rascal Flatts. I think his name was Joe Don. Was it Bakers? I said not Baker. I'm not sure. Joe Don, Rudy, from Rascal Flatts. So Preston had that connection because they had played together or something, and he was, from what I understand, partially responsible for bringing some of those guys together to form the band Rascal Flatts. And I don't know if he was initially going to be the drummer or they wanted somebody with more vocal ability or musical director type or whatever. Preston had eventually started playing with Shelley Wright in Nashville. He did that for a long time, and I saw him play with her. And he kept that gig for a long time out of loyalty, but I think other people moved on, and I think that was how the Rascal Flatts thing came together. Anyway, needless to say, if he was the original drummer, he was for a short time. Jim Riley is that drummer now. I believe Jim Riley has been there. I think Jim was with Mark Chestnut for a while, and then went to Rascal Flatts. Reminding me of somebody else in there. Another friend of mine from Western Kentucky, Wesley Pryor, had been with Mark Chestnut and left to come back, I think. So anyway, small world in a lot of ways. But anyway, Preston was very diligent and becoming a solid drummer and working in Nashville. He lives down in the Floribama area now, plays in a couple of house-type gigs, and very active in playing. And we keep in touch through social media now and then, and everything. But he was a huge inspiration in the way that he climbed that ladder to come back and to be not only a in-demand drummer, but a drummer who people respected a lot with his playing ability and everything. So he conquered all that was put in front of him, and therefore he became a huge inspiration, and he's the drummer for the day. And it's Preston Stanfill, originally from Murray State connection, and wish you the best, Preston, and there you go.